Welcome back to Recreational Shooting and Hunting. Today is another video in the Sentry series, and today is all going to be about finding the power curve of this rifle. Now, since it's unregulated, it's going to have a deviation in pellet speed. If you're not familiar with the term power curve, you can go and do some reading on it, but basically it comes down to the equilibrium between the pressure in the air cylinder being filled and the time the valve remains open to let air through and push the pellet down the barrel. In the beginning, when it's high pressured, the valve will close prematurely, causing bullet speed to be less than desired. So finding the equilibrium will give you a specific amount of shots where there's least amount of deviation in pellet speed, thus resulting in a more accurate rifle. So today we're in the indoor 10-meter shooting range. I've got my little man here with me. He's going to help me load some magazines while doing this test. I'm going to use the ChronoConnect mobile app. I know it's not a real chronograph and it won't be as accurate, but at least will give me some sort of indication of where we are at on this curve. So let's get to it. Alright, so I did the shot strings twice. The first one was at power 3.5, and this app clearly aren't as accurate as I hoped. First of all, I left out all the velocity values which were just off the chart. There's no way this rifle, for example, can launch a 15.89 grain pellet at 1,900 feet per second. So I left those out of the equation to start off with. But I think the data on the table actually is quite usable. So I found the best shot string to be from 2,400 psi down to 1,800 psi, giving me a standard deviation of 41.78 feet per second, an extreme spread of 187 feet per second, and an average of 1,015.29 feet per second. Now, I'm not sure whether this value is too high for this rifle. If you know a lot about PCPs, please comment down below and tell me how inaccurate this ChronoConnect mobile app truly was. But at least I can see that these shots were kind of close together regarding velocity, and I'll take that as a success in this test. I'll of course use Strelok Pro and I'll shoot a drop test at 50 or 60 meters to try and through the app to get a better velocity reading in the app for calculations. So if I insert these values into Strelok Pro and I take 1,015 as my muzzle velocity and I zero the rifle at 25 meters, according to Strelok Pro, regarding this standard deviation, I should have a 6 millimeter pellet drop at 50 meters more if it's at the lowest 973 feet per second, and I'll have a 5 millimeters per second less pellet drop at 50 meters if it's at the highest 1,057. So that's 6 millimeters down, 5 millimeters up. That gives me a deviation of 10 millimeters. That's 1 centimeter. That's almost half an inch at 50 meters, up or down, depending on this shot curve's highest or lowest velocity. And I can surely accept that. For hunting purposes, that's more than enough. So I'm happy with that. So when shooting the power curve at power for setting 4, I didn't start at 3000, but I started at 2800 psi, and that is the curve I found. We'll notice that the standard deviation is much higher, the average velocity is less, and the main thing I really noticed is that I'm dropping air pressure in the cylinder much faster because the hammer is opening the valve more, so I'm using more air. And we can say that the Chrono Mobile Connect app may have its flaws here, and maybe this velocities values aren't the same, but I have read that the guys which are using this rifle says that there's not a lot of speed gain in the power settings between 3 and 4, and 3.5, 4.5, but it just uses more and more air. So I think for now, I'll just use this rifle at power setting 3.5, start at 2400 psi, shoot it to 1800 psi. That should give me a relative good muzzle velocity deviation, and it should give me a very accurate rifle to work with. So the next step will be, of course, to shoot some groups at 25 meters within this range, zeroing this rifle very accurately and very precisely at 25 meters, and then do the drop test at 50 or 60 meters, through it with Strelok, getting a better velocity. Then we can go over to the Hades, which is the same pellet, same 15.89 grains, almost the same ballistic coefficient, and then we can start doing some hunting, feather and light fur, and get some tests on that as well. So thanks for joining us today in this video. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you will, consider subscribing. God bless.